As spring gradually transitioned into its warmer days, I found myself settling into a routine with Leslie, one that felt both familiar and comforting. For me, routines are more than just habits. They're a form of control, a way to structure my life with the precision and stability that I've always relied on. Even though my feelings for Leslie had grown deeper, I couldn't shake the cautious part of me, the part that hesitated to fully open up. Being a Capricorn, trust and emotional vulnerability aren't things I give easily. It takes time, patience, and certainty. Monday morning arrived like any other. The dawn light filtered into my bedroom, soft and reassuring. I slipped into my yoga attire, moving through my morning ritual with the same careful rhythm I had practiced for years. Yoga was my way of centering myself, of preparing my mind for the day ahead. Each pose, each breath, was a reminder of the order I cultivated in my life. Afterward, I showered and dressed in my usual professional attire, ready for the demands of another day at the firm. My phone buzzed just as I was preparing breakfast. My usual smoothie, packed with the right balance of fruits, greens, and protein. Leslie's name flashed on the screen. His message was simple, filled with that casual warmth I was growing so used to. An invitation to dinner at his place. A smile tugged at my lips. Despite his spontaneous nature, Leslie had a way of fitting into my well-organized world without disrupting it. He never pushed me beyond my comfort zone, respecting the boundaries I held so carefully. It was one of the many reasons I valued him, even though a part of me still kept its distance, cautious about allowing him too far into my inner world. At the office, the hours passed as they always did. I found solace in my work, where numbers behaved predictably, where problems had clear solutions. Spreadsheets never surprise you, never shift unpredictably. Relationships, on the other hand, were a different story. They demanded trust, vulnerability, things that couldn't be calculated or controlled as easily. And yet, as I balanced accounts and compiled reports, I couldn't help but think about Leslie. His carefree nature was so different from mine, yet I admired it. There was something liberating about his openness, even if it was difficult for me to embrace fully. That evening, I arrived at Leslie's apartment. The scent of herbs and spices greeted me at the door, a welcoming warmth that contrasted with the stillness of the streets outside. His home had an inviting, lived-in quality that I found charming, though it lacked the meticulous order I was used to in my own space. As he moved around the kitchen, preparing dinner, I couldn't help but feel at ease, even though a part of me remained reserved, holding back as I always did when emotions threatened to pull me out of my comfort zone. Sitting across from Leslie at the table, listening to him recount a humorous story from his day, I laughed easily. But underneath that surface, I knew there were walls I hadn't yet let down. It wasn't that I didn't trust him, quite the opposite. Leslie had shown me, time and again, that he was dependable and respectful. But opening up completely, sharing the deepest parts of myself, was something that took time. I've always believed that relationships, like anything worthwhile, need to be built slowly, with care and deliberation. Trust isn't given all at once. It's earned brick by brick, moment by moment. After dinner, as we sat on the couch with cups of tea, I found myself thinking about how patient Leslie had been with me. He never rushed me, never demanded more than I was ready to give. And in that quiet moment, I realized how much I appreciated his understanding. He respected my need for caution, my Capricorn nature that required certainty before taking the next step. Love, to me, isn't about diving headfirst into emotions. It's about careful consideration, about building something that will last. And Leslie, in his own gentle way, understood that. In the weeks that followed, I began to open up to Leslie, little by little. It wasn't in grand confessions or sweeping declarations, but in the small moments we shared. A quiet morning coffee, a conversation during a late-night walk, or a comforting silence while watching a movie. I told him more about my family, my dreams, and even my fears, the things I rarely shared with anyone. Each time I revealed a piece of myself, I felt the weight of my reservations lift slightly. I was still cautious, still careful, but I was allowing myself to trust more with each passing day. One evening, as we walked hand in hand through the park, Leslie brought up the future. His question wasn't unexpected. I had been thinking about it too, but expressing those thoughts wasn't easy for me. I had always imagined the future as something to be planned, to be mapped out with practical goals and achievable steps. Love, like everything else, needed a plan. But as I stood there, feeling the warmth of his hand in mine, I realized that maybe the future didn't need to be fully figured out just yet. Maybe, for once, I could allow myself to take things as they came, knowing that Leslie would be there, steady and dependable, just like he had been from the beginning. I told him what I had been thinking, that I saw a future for us, one built on the same principles I held dear: loyalty, commitment, and a slow, steady foundation. But I also admitted that I needed time, that I needed to adjust. And true to form, Leslie didn't push. He simply reassured me that he was in this for the long haul, that he was willing to build that future with me, one step at a time. That was all I needed to hear. As summer began to approach, I found a sense of peace settling over me. With Leslie by my side, I knew I could navigate the complexities of love just as carefully as I approached everything else in my life. Our relationship wasn't rushed or impulsive. It was reserved and cautious, growing stronger with each passing day, grounded in the stability and trust that I cherished. And in that, I found a new kind of security, one that didn't require me to compromise who I was, but allowed me to slowly open my heart, one careful step at a time.